What is going on YouTube? It is your boy MrBaboon back with another reaction video. This time we are reacting to another timeline. This time we got timeline 1976. Everything that happened in 76. In 1976. I'm excited we have done from the 70s all the way into 75. Now we're going to be doing all the way from 1970 through 1976. So I'm excited. If you guys want to go watch the other ones, you guys should be able to find it. Just type in MrBaboon reacts to timeline and then 19, and then it should pop up. So with that, make sure you guys do check the description. I got the video and the channel link down below in the description if you guys want to check it out. Check them out. Check the video out for you guys self if you guys can. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the reaction. Let's like the video. Alright? And then boom, full screen. Boom.
1976 began to lay the groundwork for its upcoming sequel, the 1980s. America celebrated its 200th year as several prominent figures from the first half of the 20th century faded into the sunset to make room for the next generation of trend-setting icons and world leaders. After the uncertainty of the previous year, 1976 brought with it some welcome promises of hope for the future, including an exciting new space program and the election of a folksy new president, untouched by the stain of Watergate. But it wasn't all floral prints and disco. Unrest and injustice were still rampant around the globe, and the streets of New York City would be darkened by the arrival of one of history's most notorious criminals. We're going to talk about the news, culture, sports, and entertainment, and all that was weird in the 70s. This is Timeline. You talking to me? You must be talking to me, because this episode is all about 1976. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel and let us know in the comments below your favorite.
Make sure you guys do go subscribe to them. I got their channel link down below in the description, and the video link that we are watching right now down below in the description if you guys want to check out either one. Either way, it takes you to the channel. You know what I mean?
Favorite 70s fashion trend. Now don't get too close to that Pinto, because this is 1976. The year kicked off with the moving of a national monument. The Liberty Bell was relocated from Philadelphia's Independence Hall to a newly constructed pavilion a short distance away in Independence National Historic Park on January 1st, in celebration of America's bicentennial. Bit of a sad gift. Nobody wants to reorganize their antiques on their 200th birthday. The Liberty Bell has remained in its new home ever since. Famed mystery writer Agatha Christie passed away on the 12th of January, and the murderer is someone in this room. Just kidding. Christie passed away of natural causes at her home, Winterbrook House, at the age of 85. She is often referred to as the most influential mystery writer to ever put pen to paper, and remains one of the best-selling authors of all time.
Hi, I'm Donnie.
And I'm Marie. I understand.
Even the way I did it was difficult.
Sure.
Well, look, man, it's not easy working with a dummy.
The doomed supersonic airliner Concorde took its first commercial flight on January the 21st. Two flights departed simultaneously from London's Heathrow Airport and France's Orly Airport, bound for Bahrain and Rio de Janeiro, respectively. Although the high-speed plane could carry passengers across the Atlantic in less than half the time, the Concorde never managed to catch on. Only 16 of the planes were sold and were used exclusively to fly from London and Paris to New York until July 20th, 2000, when an Air France Concorde crashed shortly after takeoff, claiming the lives of over 100 passengers and crew.
You could hear the aircraft, you could see the black smoke, and you could see tremendous flames coming out the back.
The Concorde never recovered and took its final commercial flight just over 3 years later on October 24th, 2003.
Well, we gotta get out of here. Well, what do you suggest I do? Flap my arms real hard and head toward the window?
Finishing out the month, future Dana Carvey impersonation, George H.W. Bush became the director of the CIA on the 30th.
Anybody dumb enough to accept the job is too dumb to do it.
Bush had previously served 2 terms in the House of Representatives and was a UN ambassador under Richard Nixon. But he wouldn't hang on to the CIA gig for long. Bush resigned from the position exactly 1 year later, following the election of President Jimmy Carter. Geez, George, let us know how you really feel. Moving into February, Nobel Prize-winning physicist Werner Heisenberg passed into the theoretical plane on the 1st. Heisenberg is credited as the father of quantum mechanics, including the famous uncertainty principle, which bears his name. But he was also a man of some dubious distinction. He was instrumental in developing Germany's nuclear program during World War II, as well as inspiring a certain New Mexico chemistry teacher 3 decades later.
Say my name.
You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me?
Rebel without a cause actor Sal Mineo was fatally wounded by a knife-wielding mugger on February 12th. He had been returning home from rehearsals for an upcoming play when he was attacked while parking his car behind his apartment. Mineo succumbed to his wounds, passing away at the age of 37. A pizza delivery driver named Lionel Ray Williams was convicted of the crime and sentenced to life in prison, but was paroled in 1990 after serving just 12 years. The next day, American figure skating champ Dorothy Hamill took home the gold medal for ladies singles at the 1976 Winter Olympics in Innsbruck, Austria. Hamill's medal-winning performance included her signature move, a camel spin into a sit spin dubbed the Hamill Camel.
And a final scratch spin. A performance without any flaws.
That's pretty badass. What?
Today, you don't mind the wait.
Bro,
You've got the all-new Caesars Palace
That's
online
pretty
casino.
badass.
We'll be right back.
Dorothy Hamill for Clairol, short and sassy.
The longest it was about just to the top of my shoulders. Straight bangs. And I used to pull it back like this. Now with short hair, I need more body. So I use Clairol Short and Sassy, the conditioner for short hair. Even after blow drying, Short and Sassy makes it shiny and gives it body. And let's face it, without body, short hair is just short hair.
Clairol, short and sassy, with twice the protein of the leading conditioner.
For the short and sassy look.
Hurtling into March, the largest observed meteorite in history fell to Earth near Jilin City in China during a massive meteor shower on the 8th. The record-setting chunk of space rock weighed nearly 4,000 pounds, or roughly the same as 1.8 million Dennis Eckersley rookie cards. To date, it remains the biggest observed meteor to strike the planet. Heavy, man. The Who's hard-partying drummer Keith Moon collapsed in the middle of a show at the Boston Gardens on March 9th. The English rock band had just started their set when Moon simply toppled over behind his drum kit. At the time, singer Roger Daltrey chalked the incident up to a bad case of the flu. But it was later revealed that Moon had suffered a near-fatal overdose of booze and prescription pills. Moon bounced back in time to play a makeup show a month later, but his luck would run out before the end of the decade. More on that in 2 years. 2 weeks later, Argentine President Isabel Perón was overthrown in a military coup on the 24th.
El país transita por una de las etapas más difíciles de su historia.
Perón, the third wife of former President Juan Perón, took office after her husband's death in 1974, during a period of extreme socio-political unrest. Jorge Rafael Videla, the general who led the military junta against Perón, controlled Argentina for the next several years, in a reign notorious for human rights abuses and one of the worst financial crises in the nation's history. Booting up April, Apple Computer was founded in Los Altos, California, by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne on the 1st. Their first product, the Apple I, was designed and built by Wozniak, entirely by hand. Jobs, a college dropout with no background in computing, set up the company in his parents' garage. He had an idea that the personal computer, which at the time was considered an extremely niche item for hobbyists, could become the indispensable product of the future. Stay tuned to see how that works out for him. Or just check out the logo on whatever device you're using to watch this video. Pretty good odds it might be a piece of fruit. The same day, experimental artist Max Ernst packed away his earthly brushes at age 84. A prolific Renaissance man, Ernst was a poet as well as a sculptor and painter, and is considered one of the fathers of Dadaism and Surrealism.
Charles Manson, the father, his family, and their legacy of Helter Skelter. Now, Lorimar Productions brings to full life Helter Skelter, the #1 bestseller, the true story of the Charles Manson murder.
Renowned industrialist, aviator, and film producer Howard Hughes passed away on April 5th at age 70. One of the most powerful and influential figures of the 20th century, Hughes spent the final decade of his life in extreme seclusion as a result of his declining mental and physical health. In fact, Hughes was so secretive during those last years that many didn't believe he had actually died, and conspiracy theories about the billionaire supposedly faking his death circulated for years.
Follow the money. What do you mean?
I did not know that.
Where? Oh, I can't tell you that.
Staying with books, literary horror author Anne Rice published her debut novel, Interview with the Vampire, on April 12th. The book was the first installment of Rice's popular Vampire Chronicles series and would go on to sell over 8 million copies. It was eventually adapted into a 1994 film of the same name, starring Tom Cruise and some unknown actor named Brad Pitt.
Flesh and blood, but not human.
Barbara Walters made broadcast history 10 days later when she became the first female anchor of a nightly network newscast on the 22nd. Walter would co-anchor ABC Evening News with Harry Reasoner for the next 2 years, until a visible on-air tension between the two led her to leave the show in 1978. But don't worry, she landed on her feet. Walters would go on to become one of the most influential broadcast journalists and interviewers of the 20th century.
We'll be right back.
Radio Shack has the perfect gift for pedal pushers. The famous Archer bicycle radios that let you play Santa for as little as $9.95. Or give the original Road Patrol radio with built-in horn and reflector. Or really make them happy with this deluxe AM/FM model. All three disconnect quickly for safekeeping or off-bike use. Low-cost Archer bike radios. Only at Radio Shack, a Tandy company.
Former Yardbirds frontman Keith Relf accidentally electrocuted himself with his guitar on May 14th, passing away at age 33. Relf had been noodling around with his instrument in the basement when he stepped on a gas pipe. Because his guitar wasn't grounding, the contact with the metal pipe sent a fatal electric current through his body. Relf left behind an enduring music legacy with the Yardbirds, where he played alongside future giants Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, and Eric Clapton. Staying with the music theme, The Who played the loudest concert in recorded history at the time on the last day of May. The show, played at the Valley Stadium in Charlton, London, thrashed out an eardrum-destroying 126 decibels at a distance of 100 feet from the stage. For reference, a jet engine clocks in at around 150 decibels. Guess we know why Tommy was deaf. The concert earned The Who the nickname, the loudest band in the world. Controversial billionaire and Timeline recurring character J. Paul Getty kicked the extremely wealthy bucket on the 6th of June. The abduction of Getty's grandson, J. Paul Getty III, and Getty's subsequent refusal to pay his grandson's ransom had dominated headlines 3 years earlier. An avid art collector, Getty left a sizable chunk of his massive fortune, still considered to be one of the largest personal fortunes in history, to the J. Paul Getty Museum in Los Angeles, California.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
It's time for the Family Feud.
Sexy garment worn by women. 3 answers remain.
How about high boots? Boots?
Tells me a little more about you than the old high boot. Sure.
Baseball legend Hank Aaron hit the final home run of his storied career on the 20th of July. Aaron swatted his 755th dinger while playing for the Milwaukee Brewers in a game against the California Angels. He hung up his bat at the end of the 1976 season, but would continue in Major League Baseball as an executive for the Atlanta Braves, where he had played for most of his career. Finishing out July, a notorious name claimed his first victim on the 29th. 18-year-old Donna Lauria and 19-year-old Jody Valenti, were sitting in a car just after 1 a.m. when a strange man approached them and opened fire with a .44 caliber pistol. Gloria perished instantly, but Valenti survived and gave a description of her attacker. The murderer would come to be known as the Son of Sam, coined in a series of letters he mailed to police, and would terrorize New York City for an entire year. Kicking off August, the Seattle Seahawks took the field for the first time in a preseason game against the San Francisco 49ers. The Seahawks joined the league as part of a plan to expand the NFL from 26 to 28 teams. The other team was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who finished their inaugural 1976 season at 0-14, the first team in history to finish the season without a single win, under the leadership of head coach and genuine zinger machine, John McKay.
So we made up for it by not tackling.
On the same day, and staying with sports, famed Formula One driver Niki Lauda suffered a shocking crash at the German Grand Prix. Lauda's car went off the track on a sharp curve and caught fire, with Lauda trapped inside. Italian driver Arturo Marzario managed to pull him out, but not before Lauda suffered severe burns that resulted in the loss of one ear and both eyelids. Everyone was so certain Lauda's ticket had been punched that he was actually given last rites at the hospital. But the driver made a full recovery and returned to racing just 6 weeks later.
Oh shit. I did not.
We'll be right back.
This game, you're not ready.
Shit, I did not know
What
that.
makes this television different from any other in the world? This button. It brings you a home video game built in, a Magnavox exclusive. One touch and it's Magnavox Color TV with a color picture of astonishing clarity. Touch again and it's Odyssey, America's favorite home video game. Why settle for just color TV when now you can have a built-in home video game too? Only from Magnavox.
I did not know that.
Oh, wait, man. Look, Millie will be here in case Steve comes on back here. Now, come on, let's get going. Say what?
I'm not going out there alone at night.
Don't tell me you're afraid, little brother.
All right, Raj, you tell him.
He's afraid.
Thank you, Raj.
Esteemed television journalist Tom Brokaw joined the Today Show on August 30th. Brokaw would co-anchor the show with Jane Pauley for the next 5 years. A relatively new face in news media at the time, Brokaw would go on to become one of the most recognizable and trusted media figures of the 20th century.
Hey, Fonzie, can you get that?
I get it, Kermit. Hello, Muppet Show backstage.
Who was it?
The water department.
Mao Zedong, the chairman of the Chinese Communist Party and one of the most prominent figures of the Cold War, passed away at the wizened age of 82. Initially a staunchy enemy of all things Western, towards the end of his life, Chairman Mao began to view the Soviet Union as a greater threat to China than the United States, and had begun to try and repair relations with America, which had resulted in President Richard Nixon's visit to the communist nation 4 years earlier. The next day, outspoken screenwriter Dalton Trumbo dotted his last I, passing away at age 70. Trumbo had been a major figure of the Hollywood blacklist when Congress appointed the House Un-American Activities Committee to investigate the threat of secret communist influence that had allegedly infiltrated the motion picture industry. Trumbo had refused to testify before the committee and was briefly imprisoned. He and several others suspected of being communist agents were blacklisted from working in film for the next few decades. 7 days later, NASA unveiled its first space shuttle, the appropriately named Enterprise. The $10 billion shuttle was revealed during a ceremony at Rockwell International's manufacturing plant in Palmdale, California. Shuttle was revealed during a ceremony at Rockwell International's manufacturing plant in $10 billion unveiled its first space shuttle, the appropriately named Enterprise. The $10 billion shuttle was revealed during a ceremony at Rockwell International's manufacturing plant in Palmdale, California, which was attended by the cast of Star Trek. Except for Shatner, he will not be upstaged, even by NASA.
How are you going to stop me?
Keep shorts on, Mel. I ordered a hamburger. What's this?
What's the difference? It's dead.
I'm not so sure.
To finish out September, musician Jerry Lee Lewis shot his bass player Butch Owens in the chest on the 29th. But not to finish Owens, who survived what Lewis insisted was an accidental shooting. Lewis was no stranger to unfavorable headlines. He'd previously earned stacks of notoriety for marrying his 13-year-old cousin Myra, and for the mysterious demise of 2 of his other wives, including many other run-ins with the law. You think there's a reason Lewis was nicknamed the Killer? Speaking of which, the Supreme Court rescinded its ban on the death penalty on the 4th of October. The ban had previously been set 4 years earlier in the case of Furman v. Georgia, in which the court ruled that the death penalty constituted cruel and unusual punishment. However, the capital sentences that had been reduced to life imprisonment by the ban weren't reinstated, most notably that of Charles Manson. Now, there's some luck, Chuck. 2 days later, terrorists attacked Cubana Flight 455 while the plane was en route to Jamaica from Barbados. 2 bombs detonated mid-flight, plunging the aircraft into the sea and claiming the lives of all 73 people on board, including all 24 members of Cuba's national fencing team, who had just swept the Central American and Caribbean Championships. Officially, the attack was credited to the group the Coordination of United Revolutionary Organizations, although rumors swirled that the CIA may have been involved.
For Japanese cars, it was really just watching lots of YouTubers build them.
Speaking of frightening developments, the Ebola virus was identified for the first time under a microscope on the unluckiest day of the spookiest month. CDC virologist Frederick A. Murphy took a look at what he thought was a sample of Marburg virus from Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, only to see the now famous shepherd's crook shape. According to the World Health Organization, the virus has a mortality rate of anywhere from 25 to 90%, and there have been over 24 outbreaks of Ebola since its discovery.
We'll be right back.
Ford introduces the brand new Pinto Pony MPG. This 2.3-liter Pinto has a wider stance, more road-hugging weight, and a bigger engine.
Well, I mean, I will say, I guess this is also a good way to see how ads, like the ads, like the commercials and everything ran, right? I was like, nah, they're not called we call them ads, but on TV they're called commercial. And I was trying to think about that, and it was coming to me. So, but on commercials, this is a good way to see how commercials was like back in the 1976 too, like to see how the commercials was through the 70s and everything.
Engine, then Datsun B210, Toyota Corolla, Honda, Opel, Fiat, VW Beetle, Rabbit, Dasher, and Chevette, yet still has EPA estimates of 38 miles per gallon highway, 25 city. Your actual mileage may vary. The Pinto Pony MPG. The closer you look, the better we look.
Jimmy Carter was elected the 39th President of the United States on November 2nd. Carter, the Democratic governor of Georgia, narrowly defeated incumbent Gerald Ford, who, after escaping 2 assassination attempts the previous year, was probably relieved to be done with the job.
I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being.
In mid-November, Spain's parliament voted in favor of establishing a democracy after nearly 4 decades of dictatorship under Francisco Franco. The vote, which passed 429 to 59, dismantled Franco's fascist government almost 1 year to the day after his death the previous November. The country would hold its first democratic election since 1936 the following June.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, because you had the talent to become a good fighter, and instead of that, you became a leg breaker, some cheap second-rate loan shark.
It's a living?
It's a waste of life.
Comic strip Kathy made its debut in newspapers 4 days later, on November the 22nd. The strip, created by an advertising vice president named Kathy Guyswhite, poked fun at the daily struggles of being a modern single woman. Kathy would appear in over 1,400 newspapers and be spun off into 3 primetime specials before ending its 34-year run in 2010. By official count, 2 of the many Kathy comic strips that were produced are actually funny. Popular Canadian-American rock group, The Band, held their farewell concert on Thanksgiving Day at San Francisco's Winterland Ballroom. Dubbed The Last Waltz, the concert featured guest appearances by several other famous musicians, including Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Eric Clapton, Muddy Waters, and Ringo Starr. In addition to providing turkey dinners for all 5,000 of the concert's attendees, the show was filmed by an up-and-coming filmmaker named Martin Scorsese and released as a documentary film 2 years later. Moving into December, the cigar's most famous brand ambassador, Fidel Castro, became president of Cuba on the 2nd. Previously serving as Prime Minister of Cuba since 1959, Castro would retain the office of President of the Council of State and President of the Council of Ministers until 2008, when he stepped aside and let his brother Raul Castro take over. Oh, that's weird how that worked out. Castro would remain the first Secretary of the Communist Party of Cuba, a title he'd held since 1961, until his death in 2011.
Don't look down. Come on out and see how it feels in the lights.
No! There aren't any lights.
You want lights? Hey, give her lights!
Anti-apartheid activist Winnie Mandela was banished from Johannesburg on December 28th. Mandela, the second wife of fellow activist and future South African President Nelson Mandela, was forcibly relocated by the country's apartheid government and confined to Brandfort, a small remote town in the Orange Free State, now the Free State Province. Her banishment was just the more recent form of abuse and harassment she'd endured as a result of her activism. She'd previously been imprisoned, tortured, placed under house arrest, and surveilled by the government. Although her activism would continue unabated, Mandela would remain confined to Brandfort for the next 8 years. And so 1976 boogied out the door after one last waltz with a few new presidents. 1977 was up next on the jukebox, bringing with it a landmark
There's a lot of shit I did not know.
television event, one of the biggest albums ever recorded, and an exciting adventure in a galaxy far, far away. But that's next year. Coming soon, 1977. So what do you think?
I'm excited. I will say I did enjoy reacting to that, watching that. You know what I mean? It was definitely interesting. There was a lot of stuff that I did not know about. And like I said, it really is pretty cool to see how the commercials and everything was back then in the 1970s. But make sure you guys do check the description. I got the video and the channel link down below in the description. If you guys want to check it out, you guys can. I think that is going to do it for this video. Very interesting. I did enjoy it. Make sure you guys do check out the other ones we have done from 76 all the way to the 1970. I guess we did 1970 all the way until 1976. And then at some point here soon, I'm going to do 1977 at some point. You know what I mean? So, definitely excited. Make sure you guys do check out the other ones. I think that's going to do it. I'll see you guys in the next video. You guys stay safe. Positivity is key. Motivation is key. Happiness is key. You guys stay safe. Watch out for each other. I'll see you guys in the next video. Yeah. I'll see you guys in the next one. Watch out for each other.